I'm very proud that all of us were able to get on Zoom, especially some of us. I know it probably was more difficult, but it's pretty impressive that we're all doing this. I think that's we're dealing with the times, and there have been very difficult times. As it is 1 p.m., I'm going to start with the script unless someone is objecting. Okay. So the April 15, 2020 regular board meeting of the HCDE Board of Trustees is called to order. The time is 1 p.m. On March 16, 2020, Governor Greg Abbott granted a request by Attorney General Ken Paxton to temporarily suspend a limited number of open meeting laws to the extent necessary to allow telephonic or video conference meetings in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In accordance with those suspended rules, we certify the following. Notice of this meeting has been posted online for at least 72 hours. Although members of the board are not gathered in central physical location, we do have a quorum in attendance at this meeting by video conference. In fact, we have all of us. We are meeting by use of Zoom software application, which allows two-way communication and allows members of the public to both see and hear the meeting. Regarding public comment, one of the rules suspended by Governor Abbott was the statutory requirement to hold public comment at board meetings. Similarly, via the resolution adopted by HCDE board at its emergency meeting held on March 2020, the board temporarily waived any requirements or allowance of public comment, citizen inquiry at board meetings as provided for by board policy BED local until such time that the department assumes normal operations. In lieu of public comment during board meetings, members of the public may submit written questions to the board via the email addresses posted on today's meeting notice. All other meeting procedures will adhere to board adopted procedures to the extent practical. A recording of this meeting is being made and will be available to the public at a later date. The software application allows for a maximum of 100 people to view and interact at a time. We apologize in advance for any unforeseeable difficulties and ask for your patience as we navigate unprecedented conditions. To ensure we have a smooth meeting today, everyone's microphones, including board members' microphones, will be automatically muted. If a board member or member of the administration has a question or would like to make a comment, I ask you, please raise your hand. I will wait until I recognize you before unmuting your microphone and speaking. Before we move on the first item of the agenda, does any board member have any questions? I don't see. Okay, I see nobody has their hand up, so I'm assuming nobody has questions. Excellent. Okay. So, did we have any? Do you know if we had any emails of any public requesting emails? Any emails? Did we have any emails to recognize? I know that comes later. I was just curious. Okay. Hearing nothing, so I'm assuming none. Okay, if you would, Trustee Cantu, could you start us off with the invocation?
My pleasure, and thank you for the offering today's prayer. Special day for me, as it was on this day, on tax day, 13 years ago that I lost my father. And so I feel a special blessing coming down from heaven today from him. Started with the rays of sunshine this morning that I saw coming through my window. But I pray, Lord, during this time as we're concluding the Easter season, we remember your ultimate sacrifice to bring us closer to your kingdom, bring us into your kingdom. And let us be focused on, as board members, as administrators, as educators, as a community, help us to be focused on doing what's right for those who are in need and doing what's right on behalf of the taxpayers, making sure that we invest every single dollar that we have under our jurisdiction in the most wise manner possible, so that we get every possible use out of it for the benefit of our children and our community at large. We ask blessings for all of us and all of our families and all of the greater Harris County community in this time during this pandemic. Please bring blessings of health upon our community and prosperity for our greater global community as well. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen.
Amen. That was very well articulated, Richard. It is unprecedented times. Very, very difficult place we're at. Okay, so I'm going to start with the pledge to the American flag. I pledge. I know it's not a flag. Maybe could someone give us someone put on the screen? Maybe could we get a picture of the flag? Maybe. Is it possible? There we go. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Ms. Clark. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excellent. And I'm going to also lead the pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance
to thee, one Texas,
one state under God, one indivisible. Okay, so let's go to public comment. Did we have any emails? I heard we didn't. Did we have any emails for the public comment?
Mr. Dick, we did not.
Thank you.
As of right now.
Thank you, Melissa. I hope your family's doing well. Okay, so let's go to the reports and presentation. Let's start off with the superintendent. And I know, James, you've been doing wonderful stuff with Because We Care, and I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
Okay, thank you, President Dick. Once again, I'm happy that we got not only a quorum, but all 7 board members on Zoom. And this has become our new normal throughout the entire country. I've done Zoom, it seems like every single day. And next thing you know, I'll be Zooming my mother once this whole thing is over. So I appreciate everybody coming by. As you see on your screen, and I believe we sent out as an attachment, I have a 2-page report, with the first page being basically a template of what our response to the pandemic has looked like. On the top part of that sheet, you will see the 3 inner rings that I spoke about at our emergency board meeting, where we had 3 different segments that we wanted to address as we move forward. The first, and the inner circle, being the HCDE operations, to ensure that not only we keep the organization up and going, but we're ready to go full throttle once things get back to normal. The second ring would be our client support ring. And that is the services that we've contracted with not only our ISDs, but our adult ed population, Head Start population, even our choice population and records management. We have several clients throughout the entire county, if not the state, that services need to continue to exist in some form or fashion. And then the third ring, which I'll speak more about a little bit later, is the greater Harris County community. And how can we as an entity try to help those in need as we move through this unprecedented time with the pandemic. The next graphic that you'll see at the bottom of the first page is a pyramid, which is our tier model. And we broke our tiers down into timelines. Tier 1 was assuming that we would be at the state through April 4th. Tier 2 would be assuming that the school year would be closed. And right now we're operating with a Tier 2 mindset. And then Tier 3 is assuming that our buildings will be closed throughout July. I am hoping we don't have to go to a Tier 4, 5, or 6 level. And hopefully this will be past us relatively soon. In identifying this tier model, what we try to do is identify critical staff members that we needed to have work either remotely or on site on a limited, monitored basis using healthy habits to ensure that we could meet those 3 inner rings that were listed above. Going to the second page, this is an update on what we've been doing since the last time that we spoke during our emergency board meeting. I'll start with the three inner rings. As far as HCDE operations is concerned, 95% of our operations is happening remotely. There are some exceptions that we've had to make because by having no choice. Our business services has had to go in from time to time weekly to manage payroll and accounts payable. Also, our human resources staff, some of them have had to go back into the building on a limited basis to handle accounts payable. Our cleaning and maintenance facilities have been ensuring that the building and all of our facilities are staying sterilized. So even when these people go onto the campuses or in the buildings, we have a schedule which they're allowed in. They have to maintain healthy habits. There's not allowed to be more than, I think business has maybe 5 at most. And then our facilities people come in behind them and clean all the areas that they were at so we can ensure that they're maintained in a sterile state. But then we've also had to reactivate some of our campuses because we need our teachers, who obviously come in contact with children every single day when we were open, to still be able to maintain the instructional status of those students. Dr. Mays and Mr. Parker have created a schedule where our teachers can come on campus at designated times, no more than 2 or 3. They've even got routes that they're allowed to walk. But the biggest things they need to do is be able to make copies, to hand out paper materials to our students to keep them educated, and also to get access to student files. As you know, more than 90% of the students that we work with are special ed, and their special ed files are in our filing cabinets on the campuses. And so they've still been having ARD, admission review dismissal meetings, as a byproduct of some of the federal mandates associated with special ed. So they still have to have access to those files. Dr. Mays is working diligently with our staff to coordinate an opportunity where parents can come, just like they do with our food services, our Because We Care program, and essentially come onto a campus, pop their trunk. We can load instructional materials in their trunk and they'll be on their way. Also, I'd like you to know, as far as operations are concerned, that our executive leadership team has been meeting via Zoom every Monday morning at 9 a.m. We have still been having leadership team meetings, which consist of about 35 division leaders, and that's the first Tuesday of each month, and we're doing that via Zoom. As far as client support is concerned, with special schools, like I spoke of earlier, our teachers and principals and administrators have been preparing instructional materials for our students. I'll be honest though and tell you, just from talking to Dr. Mays, some of our students are hard to find right now. You know, they weren't easy to get in the building when the school was open, but they're even harder to catch up with now. So that has proven to be a chore, not only for us, but for all the school districts. But we also been having a presence during ARD presentations too, ARD representation. As far as Head Start is concerned, and I'll talk more about this in a second when we get to community engagement, Vanita and her crew have done a magnificent job preparing boxes, meals, coordinating lines, for coordinating traffic, even for cars to show up and for us to be able to hand out meals to some of our most needy families, specifically our Head Start little ones who look forward to having 2 square meals every single day with Head Start. So we've been able to maintain that. Therapy services is continuing to be innovative and come up with ways where we can still reach out to our special needs students. That's difficult to do for physical therapy, obviously. But even on this second page, you can see there's a photo of a young lady with her dog in there. That's one of our music therapists who is basically working with some of her students via Zoom. But even the video conferencing with children have proven to have some of its drawbacks too. And some of the superintendents have been talking about that. A lot of kids don't want you to see what their house looks like. And so, you know, there's been problems with that with the video conferencing. Moving on to adult education, working towards a full-time distance learning implementation model. Technology has done an extraordinary job. I mean, they have really stepped up to the plate and made something out of nothing to ensure that we can still be able to facilitate services to our students and especially even to our adult ed students. And, you know, we don't have all the hardware we need, not because we can't afford it, but the access to it has been limited because some of the stuff is in short supply right now. So technology has been more than innovative in trying to ensure that we're up to speed. Records management, oddly enough, has been on site periodically because, as you know, we keep the records for 24 school districts. I'm actually 23 school districts, but we also keep the records for a city hall and the county. And the court system still moves on and they need access to some of their files. And so our records management has been working diligently to try to keep them up to speed. And finally, our choice partners has been able to work really almost 100% remotely to keep that going, especially to our vendors who are also working with school districts at this time. The third circle, the Harris County Community Engagement, I would say that having that emergency board meeting that we had, certainly Mr. Dick putting the, you know, extraordinary creative pressure on myself to get this thing up and going has proven to be a success. You know, the executive leadership team spent 6 hours putting together 1,300 boxes. Our Head Start folks have done an excellent job of coordinating and identifying the proper nutrition that our students need and meeting those federal guidelines. And to this point, as of last week, our Head Start folks have handed out 5,780 meals, which consist of 1,234 families. Mr. Parker informed me last week that they've had some traffic issues because a couple of sites they've had cars kind of wrapped around the block, you know, in line to get food. And so it's proven to be very, very successful. And, you know, kind of like what we thought, that initiative will probably pick up momentum the longer we're in this situation, because people are going to need food more later than they do now. The longer folks go unemployed, the more needy they will be with the food situation. So we're in good standing with that, although some of the supplies have been challenging to get moving forward. We'll talk more about later on today Harris County Education Foundation and the impact that it might be able to have on the community as far as the grant scholarships and sponsorships. The final thing, trustees, that I'd like to inform you, I've been on these Zoom calls. I was on 3 of them yesterday with the state and local. Yesterday, I was on a conference with 73 superintendents. And, you know, it's starting to get stressful for school districts right now. And, you know, I would say that their biggest challenge that I've heard that doesn't directly impact us, but certainly indirectly impacts us, is one of their biggest concerns right now is grading and how they implement grades for students remotely and whether that should be a pass-fail situation. What graduation looks like is a big issue right now. Not only how will we determine students graduate, but where's the graduation even going to be held? And so school districts are pushing back to probably a July graduation. But it looks like many school districts are preparing to do Facebook Live for graduation, some type of virtual graduation. I can't fathom that even in July, you know, we're going to be in a point where we can allow 20,000 people to fill up NRG, you know, to go to a Sci-Fair graduation. So school districts are being innovative. Even yesterday, they talked a little bit about an August graduation, which I don't know that that's going to work out. So that's their number one concern right now. Technology difficulties is an issue that they're having, but not in the form of hardware, more in the form of access, meaning they can get the laptops to the kids, but many of our kids don't have internet access. Many of our poor kids don't. You know, a lot of kids, internet access has come through cell phones. They don't actually have an internet service in their house. And so school districts have found it challenging to buy these hotspots because they're difficult to find right now and to get them out. Special ed has been challenging. There's many federal guidelines that are still in place that need to be addressed as we move on with this shelter in place type of mentality, because some of these services that we've agreed to do, we as in all educators in the country, you can't implement those services when there's distance learning going on. And so we're waiting on the feds. We thought that with this recent stimulus package, they would kind of pull back on some of their federal expectations for special ed, but we're waiting for further assistance with that because that has been proven a challenge. And then, the final thing that has been a primary topic of concern is reentry process. What is it going to look like when we open schools again? And, whether it be the end of May or August or September, what will that look like? And so typically when we get to that question, it becomes overwhelming because there's too many other issues that we don't know that we have to spend more time in trying to solve. But that's really kind of the status of the school districts right now. I will tell you, yesterday's conversation was different than all the other ones I'd ever had because the issue of school districts, primarily there was one school district that identified that they were going to stay closed for the rest of the year. And that decision hadn't come down from the state or from the feds or anything yet, but essentially it was local control. They wanted to shut it down for the rest of the year. And so there was quite a bit of conversation about that. If it was based on my professional opinion, I think that we're not coming back this year. I can't see that schools will be able to be reopened April 5th or May 5th. I can't fathom how, we have large high schools in this county, how we can open up a high school with potentially 3,000 students and put them all back in the building. And we're not in a really good place, preparedness and being able to deal with that. So I would assume, and this is why I said we're kind of working in a tier 2 model, that at this point, the school year is pretty much done with. And so we need to deal with what we got and get ready for next year. That's all I have to report. President Dick, be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? I'm looking for hands. No, I do have a couple questions.
Sure.
First, I have a comment is I'm very happy and pleased with the work we've done with the Because We Care initiative. I think the department has gone out of its way in doing this. I think we've helped a lot of people, and I think it's been a bit of a hard time, and it's been difficult, but I think I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm glad we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm going to nag on you a little bit. What I'd like to see is also we give out, if we can, disposable gloves, hand sanitizer, those disposable masks, and some type of sterilization spray. The reason being is the people that are receiving our Because We Care packages are on the lowest of the social economic status, and they're the most likely to be spreading this disease. And I think they need help with that in that regard. I think it's a public service with us providing them those items, because if you just look into all the reports, they're more likely to spread it. It's because they have to work, and also they don't have the money for gloves, hand sanitizer, and that type of stuff. So I'd really appreciate, and we've done a great job. I'm not criticizing. I'm just encouraging to try to find those things, because I think it'd be very important that we do.
Very good. I had a conversation with Mr. Parker yesterday, and he informed me that he, along with Mr. Vela, I'm sure Jeff Drury's been part of that, has been trying to identify vendors who can get us sanitizer. We didn't talk specifically about gloves, but we can do that more so later. But that's hard to find. I mean, and people are making their own hand sanitizer at this point, but duly noted, and we're on it.
I have faith that y'all can find it. I have the utmost faith y'all can.
We appreciate that.
The other question I had that I thought was fascinating is the distance educate. We're doing the adult education via distance education.
Mm-hmm.
That's something new we hadn't done before, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been doing direct instruction where people have been coming to us in the evenings. But, you know, it's interesting because the problems we have is some of our students don't have technology, but then we even have teachers who didn't have the technology to be able to provide the instruction. And so the thing with our adult ed situation that we had more control over is getting our teachers not only the technology, but then we need to train them on how to use that technology like Zoom to be able to provide instruction. You know, Miss Ross has been doing a fantastic job with that. I haven't talked to her recently about it, but I know she's been working closely with technology to be able to go full scale distance learning. And one thing that you'll see with the school district that announced that they're going to be closed for the rest of the year, you know, one of the points that school district made was that they've already established this framework to provide instruction remotely. Why would they shut that down and send kids back to school for 3 weeks when they can just finish out the year doing that? They've got the infrastructure set up for it already, especially if you end up sending kids back to school and then you decide to pull them back again and send them back home. So I think what the new normal will look like come next year is there's going to be some form of remote learning and educating throughout the country. My son's upstairs right now taking the test at LSU, you know, and he's in Houston. And so that's happening throughout the entire country. So
Well,
I think the new normal will look like that.
Well, my hopes are that we continue doing remote. We continue doing distance learning education for adult education. I think that we'll be able to have more impact if we continue doing that, even after COVID. I think there's some people that aren't able to physically go to our locations. I think there's a market for it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I at least hope we look at it and consider it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Don, do we have a report of the feasibility subcommittee?
No report.
Thank you, Don. Okay. Are there any other reports from board members concerning attendance or participation in a board or HCD related conference, event, activity, or committee, accolades for any HCDE staff member or other deserving member? I'm looking. I don't see anybody. I will note that Trustee Duhan had her daughter, and congratulations.
Baby girl.
And I know you're dealing with that. It's a wonderful time. It's a blessed time to have wonderful kids. I'm sure it's an absolute treat. Congratulations. Okay. Let's see. Okay, now we're going to go to monthly reports by Dr. Jesus Mesqua. If you would, please take over, Dr. Jesus.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Jesus Amezcua, and you received the financial highlights for the month of February, and we were able to finish the month of March. If you recall, we don't have a March board meeting, so that's when the February board financial statements will be made. Before I proceed, can everybody see my screen, and are you able to hear my presentation? Yes?
Yep.
Proceed?
You're good to go.
Okay, thank you. So as far as financials, we're going to go over the financial statements, the budget amendment report. Our financials will be posted on our website. Our balance sheet as of March 31st, which is the 7th year of the fiscal year, we have assets of, get my glasses, 49,071,176, liabilities of 2,118,649, and fund equity of 49,071,176. Our fund balance as of March 31st, estimated at the end of the month at 46,430,237, with excess current revenues over our resources as of that time of 14,338,122. The ratios of March, the 7th month of the year, we are at percentage of the year in terms of general fund expenditure ratio, 72%. Last year, we're at 63%. We're a little bit better. Working capital ratio, we're at 47 million, about $1 million more than we were exactly a year ago. unassigned fund balance ratio, we're at 43%, about 5% more than a year ago. Our debt to income ratio holds steady at 6%. Our efficient ratio for tax revenue to total tax is at 36%, about 4% better than a year ago. Our indirect cost ratio, again, holding steady at 2%. Our revenue growth indicator, we're at 24% for the year versus last year at the same time, we're at 22%. And then our fee growth revenue, it's at 2%, a little bit down from a year ago. We had budgeted 4% for the year. Our budget activity, our revenues year to date, it is important to note that we've billed and received 77% of our revenue as of March, or 58% of the year. Year to date, we are at 57% when you take into account the special revenue and the grants overall. So, but the general fund, we're at 77% of the revenue collected. In terms of expenditures, we're at 51%, so it's a little bit below what the expenditures total are for the year. And so overall, we're at 53% when it comes to budget to actual spend as of the 7th month of the year. Donations received for the month of March were 10,341, of which all 3 of them were for Head Start, Children's Museum, Parks and Rec, and then also some carpet mat that we received, a total of 10,341 in-kind totals. The values, this chart indicates that our values are at 481 billion, 403 million, $493,582. We started the year at 483 billion. That was our projection back in September. And we're not quite going to make the 483 billion threshold, but we're probably going to get to 482 billion, just about a billion slightly under what the projection was. The majority of the protests have been certified, but we're still going to probably fall a little bit short from where we started in September. When we look at the collections, and this is a very important chart now because we've collected 95.6% of our taxes. Year to date, we've collected 23,227,219, and we still have $1,058,093 to collect. Now, the Harris County Tax Office is not open. They're just collecting payments over the mail and over the online. I projected that we're probably going to collect about half of that, but we're not going to make the entire budget of $24,285,000. The delinquent taxes, we projected 152,000. Again, some of the refunds that we had to do because of the values changes. So we're not going to collect 150,000. In fact, we're negative 72,496 in terms of delinquent taxes. Penalty and interest has gone up in terms of collections, 104,000. So that helps a little bit to offset some of the delinquent tax. Payments to the tax office have been year to date $479,004, and the HCAT fees are $131,028. This is the collections for the year, 95.6. A year ago, we were at 96.4. So we're a little bit about less than 1% below where we were a year ago. But remember, we also have a little bit bigger levy to collect. So so it's still running within the threshold of we were a year ago. Disbursements for the month of March were made, and the majority of these were checks and transactions and ACHs that have been made for the month of March that have been made online. I'd like to mention that our staff, our business staff, accounts payable, has done an outstanding job to automate 98% of its processes. Everything gets reviewed, approved online, and just the checks actually get printed on a Friday, and then they get mailed. And that's the last piece that we will make. Basically, 98% of our processes are automated. So 3.4 million. All the checks are presented and posted on our website, and so a listing of those will be uploaded to our website for the public to see. Segment data for some of our divisions. Educator certification, 305,952 variance, negative variance. Records management, 86,337. Keep in mind that records management, the close of the year happens right at the beginning of the month. So sometimes because we have to close early in the month, we don't get to capture all the billing. So that will correct in the following couple months. So we should be even in the records management area. School-based therapy, minus 928,101. Again, it is intended to be subsidized. We've billed already 5.6 million, and we're still pending to bill another 4 million to the rest of the year. A lot of that extra 4 million will be dependent on what we're able to build through distance learning and through other means. Schools, we're at 484,401. And now notice that this is a positive. What that means is that our schools are contracted with us, and we bill at the beginning of the semester for the fall and the spring. So we've billed 100% to the schools because those are seats that they purchase. And so whether we are open or not, those are completely billed at this point in time. And so we'll project that we're going to have a positive variance at the end of the year. Choice Partners continues on the same pace, 1,956,808 benefit variance. We're at a 58% benefit variance on Choice Partners as of the 7th month of the year. Budget amendments there's two major budget amendments. The first one is from Choice Partners, $500,000 to reflect expenditures with a program with the foundation. And there's an additional agenda item that's included in today's agenda that is related to this budget amendment. The next one is creating a budget for COVID-19 emergency purchases, category B purchases that will be reimbursed by FEMA, also food distributions. And so we are looking at establishing a $1.5 million for setting aside those monies. We haven't spent nearly the amount of 1.5 million, but however, at the end of this, we may have to reclassify some expenditures to be able to meet that requirement and be able to submit, because we are spending due to address the emergency purchase. So one of the things that I have been in discussions with our Head Start program, we will be receiving a Head Start grant for COVID-19 to get ready our Head Start program. And so a lot of that, about $1 million of that, will be Head Start reimbursement through the Health and Human Services. And about the other $500,000 will be identified as FEMA reimbursement. So practically the entire 1.5 million is projected to be reimbursed to the Department of Education in order to deal with the emergency. In terms of our grants, some of our grants change in the middle of the year in terms of they are overlapping in between fiscal years. We just received the Head Start program reallocation. And so in order to make sure that we stay within our budget allocation, we have to adjust what we thought we were going to receive or what we already received and spent. And so we made adjustments for the Head Start program and the disaster recovery budget for COVID-19. So those items are reflective to adjust our grants so that we can continue through the rest of the year. And in terms of the construction PFC update for the month of March, I'm gonna go quickly to some of these slides. Some of them are just the historical information regarding the project. 11 million in terms of the overall project. Here you have all the expenditures by month. We've spent 11 million 24,668. And we've earned interest of 483,602. Keep in mind that the PFC bond yield is 168. Now, well, we had set aside some interest to send back to the IRS because of arbitrage, because some of the recent interest rate reductions, we may actually reduce that number down. If you look at the last two numbers, February 2020, we've only earned $811 and $479 in terms of the current rate. So there's going to be a reduction in what we're able to return back to the IRS because the rates were lowered. We still have approximately 2,426,287.75 from the PFC. And a lot of that includes retainage that has been set aside for the construction contract, and also some payables that we have still pending. Here you have a list of all our payments dating back to 2016. And so a total of all our payments are $11,024,667. We have retainage that we haven't paid our contractor yet because we haven't accepted the ABS project just yet, of $429,990. And so here is just another information regarding each of the years of what makes up the dollar amount for what's available in the PFC fund. Mr. Vela has mentioned that we're just waiting to complete the project, and so we will be waiting to get a completion, and that would have to be approved by the board so that we can release the retainage. Educational Foundation update as of March 31st. We have assets of $89,126. Same thing as we had a month ago. Our foundation update, we have expenditures dealing with after-school program, EcoBot, and other operating expenditures. The biggest revenue is the payment from the Houston Endowment for $74,250 that came into the foundation. That's the financial statement report for the month of March. Any questions before I go into the investment report?
Does anybody have any questions? I'm looking. I don't see any hands raised, so I'm assuming none. Oh, Richard Cantu.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Cantu.
Yeah, I just wanted to just break it down a little bit more, just so that I understand clearly. Am I understanding your report to say that the main category that we're looking at a reduction in revenue is in the Head Start program? Because they're not actually in session?
No, the reduction in revenue from the budget amendment is because it's an overlap between fiscal years. The federal government only gave us 6 months. The way they broke down this grant for this year, they only gave us a 6-month allotment, and so then now we've already spent that 6-month allotment, so we don't want to overspend it because it's a grant from January to December. So we need to reduce that number. So that's not an actual reduction in revenue. That's just a reduction in budget because we don't want to overspend it. That $6.2 million for Head Start program operation has already been spent in the first 6 months of the year. And so we're just reducing it so that we can look at what the rest of the year are for the Head Start program. We're undergoing through a reappropriation with the federal government, and they've only been doing that every 6 months, the allocation. Typically, we do that. We know what our number is going to be for the whole year, but because we're going through the reappropriation or the reauthorization rather, they only give us every 6 months. So that's the adjustments that we have to make in the budget. So those are just budgetary adjustments. They're not reductions in grants or revenue because we've already spent at this time that amount from that we allocated from the previous budget that was adopted by the board.
Okay, and I guess a follow-up, you would bear with me. Are there any categories of revenue, any areas, program areas where we are experiencing a loss in revenue that we basically won't be able to recover because of the pandemic?
There are probably going to be about 2 or 3 items. A little bit of the tax. As you can see, that we're probably gonna, come close not to receive some of that $1 million. Again, it just depends on that. We usually end up with about $200,000 or $300,000 that we don't collect. This year, right now, we're about $1 million, so that may be one. The other one would be therapy. Therapy is we still have about $4 million to bill for the remaining 6 months or 5 months out of the year, but I don't know that we'll have the ability to bill that therapy. Special schools is already billed, so that's 100%. So I don't foresee a reduction there. There may be some other smaller divisions that have some revenue adjustments that may not be able to bring in for the year. So I think we will have some, but at this point in time, it's a little bit early to tell whether if we're gonna go back in May or we're gonna go back in June. So to determine which ones are going to be received, I would say probably about $3 to $4 million might be the estimate.
Listen, I can hear it. Yeah. I can hear better.
Thank you.
Loud.
Mhm.
Turn the video. I don't want to see me looking.
Okay. Are there any more questions? Do I see any more hands up? Any more questions? Oh, Trustee Summers, please.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In regard to the therapy decline in revenue, wouldn't there be an equal or close to equal decline in the expense?
No, because they're not contracted in terms of they're not a contract. They're not a independent contractor. They're employees.
So you're paying them even though they're not delivering any service?
They are delivering some services right now. I don't know to what extent we are delivering at this time.
Okay. Well, I didn't understand that for all these years. I thought it was you paid them and the school district paid you. Can you still hear me?
Yes. So
Okay.
yeah. So we bill, but our employees provide a service, and then we identify the services, and then we bill the school districts. So those are the contracts that we have with the school districts. Now the question is, are we going to bill to the extent that we normally do during the summer months and the spring months? And probably it's not going to be to 100%. There may be some, but I don't know to the extent that we'll be able to bill. I know that there are some activities going, but I don't know how much of that is billable to the client. So we'll have to make that assessment as we go here in the next month.
Okay. One more question.
Mhm.
When do these therapist contracts end?
My understanding, I want to say, and Natasha might be able
They're
to.
the length of the school of regular teachers. I mean, the therapists don't work during the summer, so they're on a regular teacher about that
Teacher
type of
contract.
schedule, less than 200 days.
Okay. So Jesus had mentioned something about billings in the summertime, but that would be under a new contract?
Well, some school districts have extended year services, and you'll see an action item on the non-consent agenda where, like, HISD wants to expand their extended year services by 3 students. Well, so special ed services go year round with some students, and some therapists work throughout the summer, some don't.
Okay, but I was just trying to come to, if we're not going to be billing this, would we let some of these therapist contracts expire?
Well, so that's one of the big questions is going into this is contract season for us, Mr. Sumners. And so this is typically when we go out to the ISDs for school districts to renew their contract for the next school year. And I was just on having a conversation with Dr. Mays last week that I'm curious to see, you know, some of these contracts are no brainers and we've had relationship with these school districts for a very long time. So it'll be interesting to see whether school districts feel safe in establishing new contracts going into the 2021 school year, not knowing when school will actually open. There's no question that they rely on the services that we provide, but I could see in their mind, they'd be wondering when those services would be needed if school's not open in August. So right now we're in a wait and see model with that because this is the season and we're just now starting those rounds. But I need to know that information as soon as possible as we prepare for our budget moving forward, because we need to know how to budget those things appropriately.
I just received the text from Mr. Parker, and they're expecting to bill 75% of the revenue. So that is a good news that will have some loss in revenue, but we're also looking at relief fund to try to see if some of those expenses might be able to be applicable for us to be able to participate. So we're talking to also the county and TEA to see if there's a possibility for us to be able to participate in a relief fund for Harris County Department of Ed.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, seeing no more, please continue, Dr.
Thank
May.
you. The investment report for the month, we have our investments are 47,955,309. General fund and HCDE and all the other funds are 45,529 and 21, and the PFC 2,426,288. From about a couple months ago, I mentioned that we were going to move a lot of our monies between the different pools to make sure we achieve diversification. We have Tech Start at 17%, Tech School at 25%, Lone Star at 28%, Texas Class at 24%, and Chase Bank at 6%. So that pie will look a lot like that moving forward, so that we can make sure that not one of the pools has the large amount of the cash. All our funds are in the PFC are in tax pool per our contract, and so we have our Bank of Texas as well. So they're all earning interest and collateralized. Our investment portfolio from a year ago, we have a minus 15% from a year ago, and that's primarily because we've used the money from the PFC, which is our PFC funds of 8.2 million. So overall, our portfolio is now at 47,955,309. All of our funds are cash overnight, and we've earned 314,466. And also in the PFC, we've earned 58,730. We're earning 1.34 versus the benchmark of 0.085. As you can see here, in the month of March, the Fed reduced rates, and so now we're earning less than 1% in our portfolio, where we were earning 1 to 2% consistently since a year ago. So here are rates, and see if the month of February we were talking about a 1.5% more or less. between March. Now they went down to 1%, and now they're going down now to 0.5464, or about a 0.5% interest rate. So our interest earnings are also going to take a hit. We have projected about 300,000. We've made that already in the budget, but we're not gonna, we were hopefully trying to see if we can go beyond 300,000 in terms of interest earnings. We're probably gonna meet the budget, but we're not gonna maximize it as we thought we would be able to get additional revenue. And that's primarily because of the interest rates. I foresee these interest rates are gonna be with us for a while, because the economy is gonna demand some liquidity in the economy. So we're probably gonna stay in the under 1%. That's our investment report for the month. And any questions that you may have on the investment report?
Do any fellow trustees have any questions? I'm looking. I see none. Okay, sorry, I was muted. Okay. Any other trustees have any questions? Seeing none, I'm going to continue. Okay, let's see where we were. So we're going to go to the consensus. Where we start with the consensus. Do we have non-consensus? Okay, we're going to start with the consensus. Okay. Do I have anything specific? Any trustees have anything specific that you want to remove from this? Trustee Don Sumners? Trustee Sumners?
I'd like to remove 6B.
6B. Excellent. Any other trustees have any items that they want to flag? I'm looking. Trustee Wolf?
The minutes from the last regular board meeting.
Okay, that would be, what, do we know what that is?
6D.
Well, which one?
6D, I believe.
6D.
Consider approval of the following board meeting minutes.
Well, I see the emergency board meeting, but I don't see
The regular
reg-
regular minutes aren't on this agenda.
Okay, never mind.
So we're gonna take out that. Do we have anything else? I'm looking. I see no other hands raised. So seeing no other hands raised, I'm going to move forward with this. So I have a motion to approve the items save and accept 6B.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Okay. Sarah, are you able to notate the people that are making the motion and seconding it, or do I have to recognize them?
I believe that at least for this one, I got it. I believe that Trustee Norris made the motion and Trustee Duhan seconded. Are you guys? I guess you should ask for any questions, and then I can do the roll call vote.
Absolutely. Okay. Now that we have a motion and it's seconded, is there any discussion on it? And I see Trustee Wolf, you want to discuss? No?
No.
No. Okay, so I'm seeing no discussion. So let's move it for a vote.
All right. We're going to do a roll call vote just to make sure we get everyone's vote. President Dick?
I'm for it. I vote yes.
Okay. Vice President Norris?
Yes.
Trustee Cantu? Okay. A thumbs up works too. Trustee Duhan?
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa?
Yes.
Trustee Sumners?
Yes.
Trustee Wolf?
Yes.
All right, that's 7-0.
That's excellent. We got something unanimous. Okay. So we're going through, we're going to look at 6B of the consensus agenda. Scroll down. Hold on. Okay. Oh, where is 6B? Can we put it on?
It's at the
Dave,
top.
could you put it on the maybe you
It's the
do.
monthly budget amendment report.
Okay.
It's at the very top.
The very top? I'm sorry. 6. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. So do I have a motion for the monthly budget amendment report?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we have Trustee Norris did the second?
Thanks.
There. Do we have any discussion?
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Trustee Sumners. Please continue.
I was wondering why the $1,500,000 budget appropriation didn't appear as an agenda item.
Is that related to the COVID-19 purchases?
Yes.
Because the board already delegated authority to the superintendent and designees to make purchases related to COVID-19 at the emergency board meeting in the declaration. And so those items will come as information items once those purchases are made.
Okay. So you're saying we've already approved it, even though this is a large amount?
The declaration did not include a dollar amount limit.
Okay.
Or delegation, rather. Sorry.
Any other questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'm going to pass it to you, Sarah, to do the roll call.
Sure. Thank you, President Dick. Okay. President Dick, your vote?
Yes.
Okay. Vice President Norris?
Yes.
Trustee Cantu?
Yes.
Trustee Duhan?
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa?
Yes.
Trustee Sumners?
Yes.
Trustee Wolf?
Yes.
Okay, 7-0. The motion passes 7-0.
Well, that's good news. Okay. So we must scroll down. And we're going to go to the non-consensus agenda. Okay. Consider approval of the lease agreement between Harris County Department of Education and Journey of Faith. Do I have a motion? I'm looking for a trustee to give me a motion.
So move.
Trustee Cantu. Do I have a
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, was that trustee, who seconded it? Trustee Hinojosa, excellent. Okay, do we have any discussion on this item? I'm looking to see if anybody's hands are up. Okay, I'm assuming no discussion. Let's move it for a vote, if we may.
President Dick?
Yes, I'm voting for it.
Vice President Norris?
For.
Trustee Cantu? Okay. Trustee Duhan?
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa?
Yes.
Trustee Sumners?
Yes.
And Trustee Wolf?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, let's move to 7B. Consider approval to increase the maximum contract amount under CH Local fiscal year 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
That was Trustee Norris, I believe, or was it? Oh, Trustee Cantu. Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I got confused. Does the attorney, Sarah, do you have it? Do you know who did it?
I believe Trustee Norris made the motion and Trustee Cantu seconded.
Okay, perfect. We're learning voices very well. Okay, so is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, we have two. Trustee Duhan, I'm gonna start with you. I think your hand was up first.
I just want to hear some information about what testing material this is for.
Danielle, can you unmute Ms. Ross so she can speak on that?
Yes, she's been unmuted.
Good afternoon. The TABE testing, the testing for adult basic education is required by the state as a pre-test and a post-test. And due to the number of registrants that we're considering taking in for the remainder of the year, we'll need additional testing material.
Is that enough information, Trustee Duhan, or would you like more?
I mean, I think I'd like to hear a little bit more. Like, is this a new addition because of COVID-19?
No, it's not. This is an ongoing requirement by the state as a part of our program. We typically make several orders throughout the year. This is our last and final order, and so we needed additional testing material.
Is this paper material? I mean,
right. It's going to be a combination of paper-based as well as electronic. The state is actually trying to work out the new protocol given the COVID environment. So it's to be determined, but we need to get the testing material ordered.
okay, and so we've increased the amount of people that are registering for this by over 100-fold, or?
Well, the material is anticipation of, well, first of all, it's based on what we normally intake as far as students, and then also taking in consideration the additional students that will actually register and enroll.
That's a large increase.
Yeah, I agree, Eric. I don't know.
Oh,
Anyone else have any thoughts or concerns about that?
Well, let's first start with Trustee Hinojosa. I see you, Don. We're gonna get to you, but Trustee Hinojosa was next.
So what I heard is that you typically ask for increases throughout the year.
That's correct.
So is this on par with a typical increase throughout the year?
Yes, it is. Actually, earlier in the contract year, the state mandated that we use a different testing protocol, and they also provided additional funds so that we should be able to do so. In the past, we were able to create our own scoring sheets. So the new order accounts for additional material so that we can be in compliance.
So are we talking about books?
It's a test booklet, yes, online as well as a hard copy.
So this amount is typical, and it does include additional students, but nonetheless, it is typical.
Yes, it's typical.
Okay.
Okay. Trustee Sumners?
Okay, I'm still confused. Are we going to have additional students for the balance of this year?
Yes, sir. The state anticipates us being able to continue to register students. The guidance is to be determined, but that is the overall goal.
So we're going to be having these classes in the summer?
Yes, sir. We're a year-round program, 12 months out of a year.
Okay. If we don't get the new students, can we continue to use these materials?
Yes, the material will not, it will still be valid in the new fiscal year.
Okay.
Are there any more questions or concerns? And if Ms. Ross, if you could you explain what the materials are that we're looking to get and why there's that increase? That might help some of our concerns.
Sure. The material just assesses the students that are looking for basic literacy support. They're testing them to see what level they're on, how close they come to an 11th or 12th grade level, a pre and a post test. That's how we're measured by the state to see how well we are providing instruction. So this is nothing different from what we've done in the past. It's just that we are, again, rolling out a new protocol that requires us to have a different scoring sheet. We support, in most years, we support about 10,000 students in a year. And so those testing materials will account for that.
Okay, Ms. Hinojosa, did you have a question? I see your hand up, but I'm okay. Dr. Mesqua, did you have something to add in? You're muted. You'd need to unmute. Perfect.
Yes, we also have the grant ends in June, and it also is able to carry forward into the new year anything that it doesn't get used. Some of these tests are used to as a end of the program test and also a beginning of the year test. So whatever doesn't get used in this grant, it carries forward into a new grant, which is expected to come before you in the next couple months.
Excellent. And I have another follow-up, Ms. Ross, if that's all right. If this wasn't approved, I imagine there would be a hardship on the adult education, and there'd be potential problems. Would that be correct?
That's correct. We would not be able to satisfy a requirement for pre and post testing the students.
Excellent. Is there any more questions? Any more concerns? Okay. Having done discussion, I believe, and we discussed it a bit, let's move it for a vote.
President Dick,
I'm in favor.
Vice President Norris. Okay. Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Moving
Hey,
on. I'd encourage, if you're not speaking, to put your Zoom app on mute. We're all getting used to it. Okay, so let's go to, we just did B, right, Sarah? So we're going to move to C. And that would be, we're going to consider the academic and behavior school East addendum revenue contract for fiscal year 2019 in the aggregate amount of $429,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Was that Trustee Hinojosa?
second,
Okay, seconded by Trustee Wolf. Having a motion and being seconded, is there any discussion? I'm scouring, looking for anyone that wants to discuss. I'm not seeing anyone that wants to discuss, so I'm going to move forward. Let's put it for a vote.
Okay. President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
and Trustee Wolf.
yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
We're going to continue moving to D. Consider acceptance of a notice of award from the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for children and families for the Head Start Division. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Duhan, do I have a second?
Second,
second,
I think that was, who seconded it?
there were two of us.
Who seconded it before you, Mike?
Danny.
Okay,
Danny Norris.
excellent. So Trustee Norris seconded it. Okay, is there any discussion? Looking for hands. So I'm assuming no discussion. Let's move it to a vote.
President Dick,
I'm voting for it, yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, let's move. I believe we are on E.
Mhm.
Okay. Consider adoption of resolution concerning emergency administration leave with pay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Was that Trustee Hinojosa?
Yes.
second,
Trustee Wolf seconded it. Do we have any discussion? Trustee Sumners, did I see your hand up?
Can we get an explanation of this? Where these people actually would have been, these people been at the school had it not been the flood from the broken water main?
Yes, Trustee Sumners, I don't know if you remember back, this is when the water main broke by the administration building. And ultimately, I made the decision to send some folks home early because we didn't have any running water in the building. There was the toilets couldn't flush. There was no way for people to wash their hands. And it happened early in the day. So we had to make a decision to let people go. So this is actually retroactive to that incident. And because we have a March board meeting, is how it board meeting.
James, are these people that wouldn't have been paid anyway?
Some of them, not everybody in the building are on contract. So some of our folks were at-will employees who were getting hourly wages.
Okay, that's all I have.
Any other questions? I'm looking for hands. I see none. Having a motion and being seconded, let's move it for a vote.
President Dick,
I'm in favor.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
We're going to move to F. Consider approval of the 2020-2021 HCDE work holiday calendar. Should be interesting. Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Duhan.
Se-
Do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Norris. Is there any discussion? Okay, I have a question. I'm imagining this is is this done in conjunction with the COVID-19, or how will that function with this?
President Dick, that's an excellent question. This was the original calendar that we were planning on bringing forward. We understand that there may be some modifications that need to be made to this calendar moving forward based on the end result of COVID-19. So ultimately, all of our calendars are made and coincide with the bulk of the school districts. So our spring break and Christmas break will align with theirs. But if there's modifications or tweaking to the calendar, we can easily bring it back later for an amendment.
So I understand we're just doing the best we can. I got that. I understand. Any other discussion? See, did you raise your hand, Trustee Wolf? Did I see that? No? Okay. Let's move it for a vote, having motion and seconded.
President Dick,
I'm voting in favor, yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, we're gonna go to G. Consider approval of the adult education part-time teacher pay schedule. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
so moved, second,
Okay, so I had a motion by Trustee Hinojosa and a second by Trustee Wolf. Is there any discussion? Seeing no hands raised, I'm assuming there's no discussion. Let's put it for a vote.
President Dick,
I'm voting yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
Going to H, consider ratification and approval of a services agreement with SOA FIN First, job number 20/019KJ for accounting services. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Excellent. So that was Trustee Hinojosa making the motion, Trustee Norris making the second. Do we have any discussion? Trustee Sumners.
Can someone explain to me how this is working? That this is the Stafford ISD, and that's not one of our regular school districts.
Yes, we continue to provide accounting services and technical services to Stafford Municipal School District. I'm part of that, but I also have a contractor there at the school district, and so we bill the school district for all these services. We're going to bring back an amendment to add and extend the contract with Stafford to the end of the year as well.
Okay, so
Mr. Sumners, I would add that one of the services that we provide from Harris County Department of Ed is Dr. Amesqua does something called HCDE Plus, where we provide business support to school districts in needing. Stafford ISD is one of the school districts that's barely in that county, but we do provide a number of services to them. And their CFO ultimately went to another job placement and needed some help and getting folks straight.
okay, is SOA the contractor?
Yes.
Is that just a person?
A person. It's a DPA.
That's all my questions.
Any other trustees have questions or concerns? I don't see any hands raised. So having none, let's move it for a vote.
President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
Going to move to I. Consider waiving HCDE policy DN local regarding appraisals and delegating authority to the superintendent. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Hinojosa, do I have a second?
Second.
Trustee Norris. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Duhan.
I just want to hear from James a little bit about this, what exactly we're looking at.
So what's happening throughout the entire state of Texas is this is the season when we do teacher appraisals, and that's difficult to do. We've been off the campus for so long. Mandated by the state, we have to spend a specific number of minutes sitting in and observing instruction, and that's almost impossible to do when we're working remotely. So not only do we need a waiver for the next item to be a waiver specifically for the teachers, but we're also going to apply for a waiver with non-certified teachers because we don't have an opportunity. Now, how we do that yet, we haven't determined exactly how we're going to do that yet. I've had some conversations with Ms. Pruitt, our director of HR, and we'll come up with a way where we can fairly do that. Certainly, there's some folks that, they're may have been on a growth plan and required to do specific things that we can't really monitor now because of the current state of the education system. So I was on a telephone call with superintendents about 2 weeks ago when this came up, And I can assure you almost every school district in the entire county is applying for this waiver from the state because it's impossible to evaluate teachers when we're not in the building for months.
Yeah. Okay.
Any
Thanks.
other?
I just wanted a little more info on it.
Mhm. Are you satisfied, Trustee Duhan? Excellent. Okay. Is there anybody else that has any questions? I'm looking. Okay. Seeing no more, we have a motion and seconded. Let's put it for a vote.
President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Trustee Cantu?
Yes.
Trustee Duhan?
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa? I believe you're muted, Trustee Hinojosa. Can you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down? Okay. I believe that was a yes. Trustee Sumners?
Yes.
Trustee Wolf?
yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
We're going to go to J. Consider the approval of an appraisal process waiver request with the Texas Education Agency. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
That was Trustee Norris. Do I have a second?
Second.
I recognize Trustee Cantu. Do we have any discussion? Being no discussion, let's move it for a vote.
President Dick?
Yes.
Vice President Norris?
Yes.
Trustee Cantu?
Yes.
Trustee Duhan?
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa?
Yes.
Trustee Sumners?
Yes.
Trustee Wolf?
yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
Move to K. Discuss and possible action regarding HCDE providing funding. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Cantu. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded.
That was, I think, Trustee Norris seconded it, or was
Yeah.
it? Okay. Is there any discussion? I'm looking for any hands for discussion.
Here.
Oh, Trustee Hinojosa, yes, please.
So is this something that will be done on an annual basis?
Oh, I think that's a great question. Ultimately, this breaks down into three different categories: scholarships, sponsorships, and grants. I think, Trustee Dick and I had long conversations about this, and I think it's imperative that the foundation determine the distribution of how much money will go to grants, how much money will go to scholarships or sponsorships, primarily because it could be situational. So a good example right now, I think the bulk of the money will go towards grants towards the ISDs and not necessarily sponsorships or scholarships. No one's doing a golf tournament now. And so because of that, we should work on a grant cycle that begins and ends so people know exactly when to apply and they can expect to be awarded their grant. I spoke a little earlier to one of our trustees that's sitting on these committees before. It's important that teachers get awarded these grants sometime in the fall so they can actually utilize the benefit of the grant throughout the school year. It doesn't make sense to award a grant and then the school year is over. And so this will be on a yearly basis, and this will hopefully help, some of the school districts moving forward out of this. But ultimately, we'd like for school districts to be Harris County become something that they could depend on for a supplemental support.
Trustee Summers.
My only opinion about this is that we've sort of got the cart before the horse. I think that the plan as to what we're going to do as far as scholarships and grants and all be more defined before we actually vote to allocate money. And I noticed that this is a April to April thing. So I don't think there's any emergency about us voting on this $500,000 at this point in time. I'd like to hear or see a better proposal to what we encompass as this having to do, and like how scholarships would be determined, how grants to the school districts would be determined, et cetera. And then we could vote to actually allocate the money, because right now this $500,000 that we would pay is just going to be sitting there, and we don't have any really idea about how it's going to be used. And I noticed also in the agreement that there's really no reporting to the board. It's just reporting to the superintendent.
Well, so Mr. Summers, I would say that not only have we done a feasibility study on this, I believe we've done 2 feasibility studies on this topic, and I've done at least 1 presentation to the board on this. Having discussions with Mr. Edgar, the president of the foundation board, and explaining to him that, and him being in agreement that if this amount of money came over from the board, the board should have more representation based on how it gets distributed to ensure that it's in line with the goals and mission of HCDE. And so you'll see at the next action item that there'll be an opportunity where we can increase the representation from 1 board member to 3 board members to ensure that they have some say-so and be able to report back to the board on each year and how it's progressed. So I think we're in a good situation right now. I think that the Education Foundation needs some autonomy to determine exactly what the spectrum of how they're going to award scholarships, who they're going to delegate grant monies out, and not have it necessarily dictated to them. And that's the reason why I think it's probably better to have 3 board members on this. So that will happen along with myself and Ms. Bartz. So I think we're in a good position with that right now, assuming that these 2 things get passed.
I also noticed in the report that the Educational Foundation has not raised any new money since we got new board members there.
The board members have only been on the board for a few months, but yeah, that's duly noted. I'm not sure how that relates to this item, but yeah, that's duly noted.
Any other, Trustee Norris?
Yeah, so Superintendent Colbert, far as this is concerned, this is more or less trying to address the ISDs as of right now, like as in with the current situation going on, correct? So, because it seems like, I think Trustee Summers mentioned there was no hurry, but I don't know if your vision is quite being sold on what you had in mind specifically for right now, because I'm sure right now there's a whole lot of school districts trying to make adjustments, and you're looking for flexibility to do some things right now. Just making sure.
That's an excellent point, Mr. Norris. I mean, right now, I think this initiative is very timely, and that's why I put it back on the agenda. Having sat on these conference calls, they're ultimately, school districts are going to feel a ripple effect of having to buy iPads for every student in the school district. And we have all this federal funding coming and all this, that, and the other. I think that is going to be an issue. And so I think that there's a lot of good that the Education Foundation can do right now and be impactful in helping school districts. In fact, I think the timing is perfect, because if this is approved, then it will begin the daisy chain of things that we will do. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I just having kids walk through my front yard behind the bushes. But we'll be able to have school districts apply for grants this summer, and then ultimately the first of next year. So this is perfect timing where HCDE could come in and kind of save the day. Not only have we been handing out meals to help our community, but we can supplement and support ISDs through the Education Foundation. I think it's perfect timing.
Trustee Summers?
I noticed in reading the agreement that the HCDE is supposed to develop the paperwork that's going to be used to allocate these funds, or actually obtain approval for these funds. Does any of that paperwork exist at this point in time?
Yes, sir. We've already got it set up on a website where districts can apply online. like I said, I've tried several times to get this approved before, so we've put much of that infrastructure already in place. We just haven't disseminated it out because we haven't had approval for the foundation to get access to any of the funding. And in fact, just to inform the board, this funding's already been allocated and set aside. We're basically y'all are given the foundation approval to start using it. We set this money aside a year ago. And so Ms. Bartz has done a great job in working with even our technology and comms and getting that grant application process already delved out electronically. And so what will happen is if it is approved, eventually we'll meet with district representatives once again and let them know that the grant exists and to start applying and give them the understanding of the timeline for that so that the foundation can start awarding these grants early next year.
Any other trustees have any questions or concerns?
I've got one more comment.
Please.
Is this in a place where the board can look and see what the status of that information is now?
I don't believe it's on our website right now because we didn't have the capacity to award any of the grants. So we can easily get you access and send you a hyperlink so you can see that.
Okay.
Any other questions or concerns? I'd note that I'm hoping that the three trustees there will watch and see what the foundation's doing. And if they don't like what they're doing, what the foundation's doing, they'll report back and we'll adjust. If they like what the foundation's doing, we'll continue, expand, or change. That's what I'm hopeful. I'm also very hopeful that the foundation, at least at this point in time, will be centric towards COVID-19 and do things, philanthropic that's helpful to the community. Because I've been very, very, very vocal about us having a spot and helping the community in this time of need. I hope, and my hopes are that the foundation continues in doing that. And you'll know I'll nag if you aren't. You know I will. Okay. So having said all that, and I'll get off my soapbox, let's put it for a vote.
President Dick.
I'm voting yes.
Vice President Norris. Okay. Trustee Cantu.
Yes.
Trustee Duhan.
Yes.
And just for the record, I want to say Trustee Norris voted yes. He gave a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Trustee Hinojosa.
Yes.
Trustee Sumners.
No.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1 with Trustee Sumners voting nay.
Okay. So, L, and I'm actually going to take lead on this. So I'm going to say consider the appointment of Trustee Hinojosa, Trustee Duhan, Trustee Cantu to serve on the Education Foundation of Harris County. I'm going to make the motion. I have a second.
Real quick, Mr. Dick, there clarification. Currently, Trustee Wolf is serving on the foundation committee, and the foundation made a policy revision that no more than 3 HCDE trustees will serve on the foundation. So you recommended 3, and we already have 1. That makes 4, which will create a quorum.
Okay, and then I see the problems with that. Yes.
Sorry. If this motion passes, then in essence, because the foundation's bylaws state that no more than 3 HCDE board members may serve in a non-voting capacity, then those 3 would be the board representatives by operation if the motion passed.
I also have a question. Is there a term for the board delegate?
That's a great question. I believe the board operating procedures provide, just like with the Head Start Policy Council, historically that those individuals would serve until the board decided to name a different delegate.
So then if I did make that motion, then that would that, if I maybe amended it and putting in replace trustee Wolf with those three. Would that work?
Yes. Additionally, the board operating procedures also provide that you can name an alternate, one or more alternates, in fact, if that's at the board's pleasure. For example, if a trustee who was named as a board delegate to the foundation could not make a meeting, then the alternate would serve in that trustee's place. And so that is yet another option for the board.
I understand the alternate, but what I'm asking is, so does the trustee serve until the board changes it, or does the trustee serve indefinitely?
If you give me 1 second, I can check the board operating procedures. I will say in practice, what has occurred, at least over the past 10 years, is that the board delegate continues to serve until the board decides otherwise.
So the board can replace is what my understanding is.
Right. But I can tell you exactly with the board operating procedures in 1 second. Okay. The board operating procedures just say that the board shall appoint members to serve as board delegates to the Education Foundation of Harris County, Head Start Policy Council, and the PFC, but does not give a time frame for the length of the term. So in other words, the board member will serve as a delegate indefinitely until the Board of Trustees votes to name someone different.
So to understand what you're saying, because it doesn't specify, the majority of board members can decide whether to replace a board member or not.
Correct.
So then I'm gonna, if I can, I'm gonna amend my motion and to say to replace trustee Wolf with trustee Hinojosa, trustee Cantu, and trustee Duhan. Was that acceptable?
From a legal perspective, yes.
Okay. Do I have a second on that motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Trustee Hinojosa, we have a second. Okay. Is there any discussion? I know I kind of pushed them. Is there any discussion? Any trustees have any questions or concerns? See no question. Trustee Cantu.
I'd like to offer a friendly amendment to your motion, if I may. Seeing that Trustee Wolf is currently serving in his last year of his term, I would offer a friendly amendment that he continue to serve until the end of the year, and then I would step in his position on the foundation board once the term is up.
I believe that's reasonable. I'm happy to do that. If Ms. Hinojosa would be willing to do that as far as a second.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's very reasonable. Can we do that, Sarah?
Yes, sir. That's acceptable.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Seeing no other discussion, let's put it for a vote.
Okay, President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
No.
Trustee Wolf.
yes,
Motion passes 6-1. And just for the record, the motion that was passed was to replace Trustee Wolf with Trustee Hinojosa, Trustees Hinojosa, Duhan, and Cantu as board delegates to the Education Foundation of Harris County, with a friendly amendment that Trustee Wolf will continue to serve as a board delegate through the end of 2020, and then Trustee Cantu would step in and serve as the board delegate.
Excellent. Okay. So let's take a break maybe and then go to executive session because I think that's it, right? Maybe let's take a 10-minute break to go to the bathroom, stretch our legs before we go to executive session. Can we do that maybe?
Sure.
Well, you know, the bathrooms are closer now, so we might not 10 minutes.
Well, maybe you need to walk. Maybe 10 minutes. Well, maybe 10, well, we could come back at our leisure, but let's say 10 minutes. If we get there before, we can start. Thank you all.
Okay, and just for the record, the time is 2:45, and the board is adjourning to executive session, which will begin in 10 minutes, as permitted by the Texas Government Code, including but not limited to sections 551.071 and 551.074.
Okay, so we were not as we're using a new technology, we managed to omit the information involving 9A. More specifically, if we can, Richard has been gracious enough to volunteer that motion, but we need to give him the information on what to say.
It's nothing specific. It's just to, I move to approve as discussed in executive session. But just, and for the record, we're back in open session. It's 3:49 p.m.
Yes. Okay. So, we're back from executive session. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the employee for item 9A for the employment contract for item 9A.
Do I have a
Second.
Thank you both, Trustee Norris and Trustee Cantu. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, let's move it for a vote.
President Dick,
I'm voting yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners. You're muted, Trustee Sumners. Can you give me a thumbs up? I think that's a yes. You shake your head yes? Okay, that's a yes. I want to take that as a yes. Trustee Wolf,
Yes.
motion to approve the employment passes 7-0.
Do I have another motion?
And just for the record, we're on 9C.
Okay, for 9C, do I have another motion?
Yes. I move to propose non-renewal of Assistant Principal Donna R. Jones's Chapter 21 term contract for one or more reasons outlined in HCDE Policy DFBB Local as discussed in executive session. Determine that any requested hearing on the proposed non-renewal of Ms. Jones's term employment contract be conducted by an independent hearing examiner appointed by TEA, and direct the superintendent or his designee to notify Ms. Jones of the board's decision in accordance with applicable law and policy.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, let's put it for a vote.
President Dick,
I'm voting yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan. That was a yes. Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
and Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Ms. Langlois, just for clarification, I believe that was item 9B. You said 9C.
No, sir, it's item 9C.
Okay, on
Oh,
mine.
sorry. I'm so sorry. You're right. 9B. My apologies. 9B as in boy, the assistant principal. Item 9C, there is no action. Thank you, Mr. Colbert.
I had to get my quota in for being right once.
You're done for the year.
We're going to 9D. Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move to rescind the proposed suspension without pay pending discharge of probationary contract employee Alan Lovett, and delegate authority to the superintendent or designee to take all action regarding rescinding the proposed suspension without pay as discussed in executive session.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, let's put it up for a vote.
President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
And do I have a final motion?
Move to adjourn the
Motion to
meeting.
adjourn.
Okay. I'm going to take that as Danny making the motion and Trustee Wolf making the second. Is that okay? Do we have any discussion on this? Seeing no discussion, let's put it up for a vote.
President Dick,
Yes.
Vice President Norris,
Yes.
Trustee Cantu,
Yes.
Trustee Duhan,
Yes.
Trustee Hinojosa,
Yes.
Trustee Sumners,
Yes.
Trustee Wolf.
Yes.
Motion passes to adjourn 7-0. The time is 3:54 p.m.
Thank you all for doing this. I'm glad we're continuing. It was very in these challenging times, let's continue the good work if we can.